Right, good morning. The first job of the day today is to dismantle the steerer tube again, grease it up and then rebuild it, put it all back together. Right, okay, the job I've got on now is the rear brake. So they're hydraulic lines. What I've got to do is run the cabling up through the frame. What I have noticed though is that the way the cable routing runs through the bike, it's actually been designed for a right hand rear brake, which is going to mean that the cable routing out the front of the bike into the actual bar is going to be far from ideal, which a bit disappointing, but I'm going to see what I can do with just working with it as it is. So here's the rear brake hydraulic line. What I'm now going to do is split the front. I'm obviously going to have to re-bleed all of this lot, but let's see how we get on with this. So here we go. Right, so split that out. You've got to get these parts back on in the right order. So I'm actually going to stick a little bit of grease on the line, so it'll actually give it a decent seal and hopefully make it a bit easier to run through. Right, so now we're going to bolt the caliper on. I've got a standoff because I'm actually using a 180mm rear rotor. I am going to tighten it all the way for now, but I will loosen it all off again before I fit the rear wheel in and adjust the alignment of the brake. When I bleed the brakes as well, I will take the pads out and use a bleed block in the caliper. Right, okay, so I've got the cable fed through. I've put the little banjo bolt tightening nut thingy back on, as well as the cover. I've cut the cable to what I think is the right length. I've got the lever mounted on the bar, so now it's just a case of connecting it up. First of all, I've got to drive a tiny little pin into the end. So what we do here is just clamp this using the tool provided. So it should just be a case of hammering this little pin thing into the end. Just going to open that hole up a tiny amount so I can get it started. So then we put the little olive over the top.
get it fed in here. So I had about 3 threads showing, so I'm going to go tighten it up to the same amount. Well, I reckon that is it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. What I'm going to do is dry all of this off, bleed the brakes, and then just double check I've not got any fluid coming out. Okay, good.
Right, my next job is to install the lockout switch for the front fork. So that's what I'm going to be working on now. Right, so today I'm bleeding the brakes on the bike. I'm going to start off by doing the rear hydraulic brake. Because I don't have a bike track stand, what I'm doing is I've actually strung the frame up from the ceiling there, if you can see, with a bit of rope. So hopefully that's going to do the job. Right, so we're down here at the business end. I've got the brake pads removed and the brake bleed block installed in the caliper. That's to avoid getting any fluid on the actual brakes. Okay. But what I've now got to do is take off the little bleed nipple, what's it, and what I've got is this little assembly I've made up. I don't know if you can see it here actually, but it's a placky bag on the end of a bit of pipe, and that's what they recommend for doing the bleed, using for the bleed.
So that's that end of it all installed. That'll keep an airtight seal, and as I bleed it, it's stopping the air going back into the system. Up at the top end now on the bar, what I've done is just loosen the clamping bolts off, and I'm going to rotate this round so that the reservoir part of it is actually horizontal. Then what I'm going to do is just lock that off for the time being so that I can connect up the reservoir. Next job is to open up this little reservoir port on the top of the brake lever. So that just comes out of there, and then we've got to connect up the oil system. Next job is you screw in the little reservoir thingamajig, just being careful not to cross thread it or anything. There's a tiny little O-ring on there as well, so we screw that in just like that. Then what we're going to do is top it up about halfway full with the mineral oil, Shimano mineral oil. That should be fine. And last bit to do is you just pull out this little plunger. Good. And next what we do is we crack open this bleed nipple by just quarter of a turn, and then we're just going to slowly squeeze the brake cable, brake lever, to allow fluid to come out. And as I'm squeezing, I turn it, shut it off again. Just keeping the pressure on there. Turn that off. And that is rock solid firm. That is fantastic. Cool, job done. All we're going to do up here now is this little plunger goes back in just to seal off that reservoir. We're going to put a little rag there because there will be a little bit of fluid that comes out, and just unscrew this. Okay, and just reinsert the closure cap. All good.